Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the October 19th, 2022 Board of Supervisors business meeting. Would you please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? My name is Rick DiLello. I'm the chairman of the board. To my left is Lou Betts, who's our vice chair. To my right is an empty seat, which is normally Steve Quigley, but he had a conflict tonight and is not here. On the side table, we have Bob Brandt, our solicitor, and Joe Nolan, our township engineer. And then on the back table, we have Sean and Nicole, who are our township manager and finance director, respectively. Does anybody have any informational items for the board tonight?
We should announce that an executive session was held on personnel matters from 7 o'clock to approximately 7:20 p.m. No decisions were made.
I'll also add this meeting is being recorded.
Thank you, gentlemen. First item on our agenda tonight is public comment. We do ask that you keep your public comment to 5 minutes. Does anybody have public comment for the board this evening? Seeing none, we will move on. First item on our agenda under the official action items is our consent agenda, first and foremost. Does anybody wish to remove any items from the consent agenda tonight?
No.
Okay, then I will entertain a motion if you'd like to make one.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda for the treasurer's report and monthly reports for September of 2022, bill payment for September 2022, September 21 of 22 work session minutes, and September 21, 22 business meeting minutes.
Thank you, Lou. And just for the record, the bills are in the amount of $424,947.29. I will second the motion. It has now been moved and seconded. Is there any public comment regarding the motion that's on the floor? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Next up, we're going to have a motion, which is going to be to accept a loan proposal of People's Bank and Trust Company of Doylestown, Pennsylvania. And I'm going to ask Helen if she could come forward to just give us a little bit more information regarding the topic, and then Bob, you can sort of add in what you need to as well. Sure. Works for me.
Helen, please feel free to sit there. As the board recalls, we purchased the property at 3335 Fisher Road and paid essentially cash for the property. This is a borrowing that was considered and discussed by the board sometime to reimburse the township the funds for that. And to that extent, bond counsel has prepared the appropriate ordinance and documents requiring execution by the board this evening on that. The board had solicited several proposals for this, and People's Bank and Trust Company of Doylestown was the one that was selected. There's a correction on the motion that the loan proposal would be for the issuance of a general obligation note in an amount not to exceed $2,115,000
Okay.
rather than what was printed on the agenda. But the ordinance has been advertised in accordance with the act. And that's really, Helen will have a public hearing, which that's what this is on the ordinance. Helen can describe anything further, and then the board will need to act on it, and it would be by a roll call vote in this case because of the nature of the obligation.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you if you pull the mic a little bit closer to you, and maybe you could just take a minute to sort of, we had last month a presentation that talked a little bit about what was being recommended, and ultimately now we have something before us. If maybe you could just sort of high level offer your 2 cents on ultimately what we're going to be voting on, and then if we have any specific questions, we can address them at that time.
So before you is an ordinance that is intended to meet the requirements of the Local Government Unit Debt Act, which sets forth the requirements for incurring debt by the township, as well as the IRS regulations that govern tax-free borrowing. So essentially, the ordinance covers a lot of ground, covers a lot of acts, a lot of actions, and authorizes a lot of actions going forward to complete the transaction on the loan. It essentially approves the borrowing, it approves and authorizes the appropriate officers to sign all appropriate documents to complete the transaction. It approves a debt statement, a borrowing-based certificate, and an application to the Department of Community and Economic Development for approval, which is also required under the Act. And it designates the note as a bank-qualified note, which serves to provide a slightly lower interest rate for you. Attached to the ordinance is a form of the note, which incorporates the terms of the proposal that you will be approving tonight if the votes are yes, in favor of adopting the ordinance and approving the proposal. There are various other items that are included in the ordinance, including, establishing a sinking fund and a sinking fund depository. These are things that are required under the Local Government Unit Debt Act. But essentially, that's the high level, and I certainly can answer any questions that you might have. I think that you had a draft of this in advance.
Sure. So I have a couple that I asked last month, and I'm in essence going to re-ask them again just to sort of confirm that ultimately what we're going to say yes or no to sort of satisfies that. One was the ability for us to roll this particular borrowing into something else at some point if we so chose to do that. We're not restricted or limited in any way that we could do that. And then second D would be the prepayment component, and my understanding is there's no prepayment penalty involved if we decided to simply pay off the debt at some point prior to maturity.
That's right. Specifically within the terms of the note, and your bank proposal is the no prepayment penalty whatsoever that you can pay off in whole or in part at any time.
And then in terms of interest, ultimately was it 4.75? Was that the number that I saw on the, so at the end of the day, went up a little bit relative to what's been happening in the market, but still that's extremely attractive.
Yes, 4.75 with, I believe, an ability to lower that slightly if you hold a deposit account, but that Alex may be able to comment further on that.
So Alex, I hate to do this to you, but just so we can get you on the recording, if you don't mind.
Tell us who you are too, please.
Hi, my name's Alex Tumala. I work at Stifel Public Finance with Ed Murray. We're the placement agent for the note. So Helen's correct. There is an option that the rate would be reduced by 10 basis points if the township chooses to maintain a deposit with People's Security Bank that is at least 10% of the outstanding amount of the note. So that would lower the rate from 4.75 to 4.65 at the option of the township.
Gotcha. Okay.
Rick, it might be appropriate, is there anybody, because it's a public hearing,
Sure.
is there anybody that has any questions or comments at this point? Let the record show none.
Okay.
Unless you have any further questions, Lou or Rick.
I do not. I thought we covered most of it last month with Ed pretty well. And
So the motion would be, as written, to accept the loan proposal of People's Bank and Trust Company of Doylestown, PA, for issuance of a general obligation note in an amount not to exceed $2,115,000 to be utilized to reimburse funds expended for the acquisition of 3335 Fisher Road, and authorize the township solicitor, loan counsel, and staff to take all necessary steps and prepare all required ordinances and documents related to the loan transaction. Someone needs to make a motion in a second, then we'll have a roll call vote.
okay. So I'll make a motion as presented.
And I'll second the motion to accept the loan proposal, People's Bank, and the statement you gave.
Is there any public comment on the motion? Roll call vote, Mr. Betts, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Mr. DeLello, how do you vote?
Yes.
There we go.
Thank you.
Motion passes.
Thank
Thank you much.
The next step will be that we have a requirement to advertise the adoption of the ordinance, which will happen right after tonight's meeting. And then the documents will coordinate and we'll need signatures. November 22nd, I believe, is the proposed date at this point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is the 2023 budget. For those who were not here last month, we had sort of a first presentation of the budget. Tonight, we'll have a second presentation of the budget, which is moving towards November's motion to advertise, to vote on it in December. So, Nicole, you're up.
Okay, as far as taxes for the 2023 budget, the budget includes no new taxes and no increase to existing taxes. Worcester Township's real estate tax rate is proposed to remain at 120 of 1 mil, which is presently the lowest municipal real estate tax rate in Montgomery County. Under personnel, the proposed 2023 budget includes the hire of an additional full-time entry-level labor position. While this hire will increase public works salary expense, the township will see a decrease in corresponding public works expenses due to the significant savings in bringing new duties in-house. Likewise, an additional employee is budgeted in the administration department. The proposed 2023 budget includes the hire of an assistant township manager. For services, there is no substantive change proposed to the township-provided services in the coming year. So what we're doing today, we'll continue to do tomorrow. For the general fund, as to the general fund, first and foremost, this is balanced. At this time, the EIT, our primary revenue, is projected to receive $3.75 million in 2022. The budget includes $2.72 million in EIT in 2023. The budget assumes real estate transfer taxes will decline slightly in the coming year. The budget includes $250,000 in real estate transfer taxes in the coming year. $840,000 is projected for this year. This number assumes the transfers of existing residential properties and no transfers of commercial properties and larger tracts of land, which historically have occurred on an infrequent basis. This number is budgeted significantly lower in 2023 due to the reserve at Center Square being projected to be nearly completed by the end of this year. The budget includes a 5% increase to our annual operating contribution to our volunteer fire department to $175,000 and retains a capital contribution in the amount of $100,000. This number does not include the cost of workers' comp coverage that is provided by the township and is required by state law, nor does this number include the Act 205 pass-through aid to the Department's Relief Association, which is budgeted at approximately $102,000. In addition to providing additional financial support to our volunteer fire department, the township is working to support those employees who serve as volunteer firefighters during the weekdays. For many years, the township has permitted its employees to respond to fire and other emergency calls during the workday. 3 years ago, the township funded a monthly stipend for those who volunteer to answer the call for help. At this time, 7 township employees serve as volunteer firefighters. The proposed 2023 budget includes the continuation of the monthly stipends. Lastly, the general fund will transfer dollars to the capital fund at the end of the year. This revenue will provide for needed capital projects like our road program. The transfer amount will be refined in the coming weeks as we adjust the budget to reflect receipt and expenditure estimates. But at this time, the transfer is projected to be around $608,000. As for the capital fund, we'll undertake sizable capital projects in the coming year. At the top of the list is the annual road program. The township will continue to provide an augmented resurfacing program, which will help to keep our roads in good condition. The capital fund will provide $596,000 towards the road program, which, when coupled with dollars from our liquid fuel fund, will provide an approximate $943,000 in 2023. And remember, that does not include soft costs like design, bidding, and inspections. In addition, the capital fund will also fund a sizable culvert replacement on Weber Road. Lastly, the capital fund will provide for the replacement of Public Works vehicles and equipment that have reached the end of their useful life, including the replacement of a 2012 pickup truck, a 2012 brush tripper, and a 2000 dump truck. For the sewer fund, in 2017, the township contracted with a new wastewater operator, and since this operations at our 2 wastewater plants and 6 pumping stations have been running well. As to sewer rates, the budget presently includes a 0.5% increase to residential rates in 2023, which translates to approximately a 2-cent per month increase for each home on the township system. 0.5% increase to commercial sewer rates is also proposed. The sewer fund will provide $73,000 for capital improvements throughout the coming year. Just like our roadway network, the sanitary sewer system requires regular upkeep to maximize its useful life of its many components. For the liquid fuels fund, the estimated 2023 allocation was received earlier this month, a total of $355,938, and it's approximately 5% higher than received last year. For many municipalities, the annual liquid fuels allocation is the annual road maintenance budget. Our community doesn't adopt this approach. Worcester does not assume that the annual liquid fuels allocation is adequate to meet our real road maintenance needs, an approach that is more important now than ever. As such, we budget additional dollars in both general and capital fund to meet this obligation. For next steps, the township will continue to monitor our receipts and expenditures and make adjustments to the budget where warranted. We'll include new numbers when new numbers are received. The budget will be presented once again at the November 16th business meeting, at which the board will consider approval to advertise the proposed budget for the required public inspection period. The board will then consider the 2023 budget for adoption at its meeting in December. And that's it.
Thank you, Nicole. So since it's fairly light agenda tonight, well, even though we're not voting on the budget at all, if anybody has specific questions regarding the budget, certainly we have time to do that. So if anybody would like to either ask a question or make a comment with regard to the budget, certainly I would entertain those. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Next up, we have a bid award. I don't know, Joe, is this you or is this you, Sean? Who can give us a little more information on this?
Me to take it? Thank you. The township is in the process of converting the Nike Park on Trooper Road into a compost site for the collection of waste products from the residents of the township, specifically leaves, branches, those types of things. The existing site where the township wants to put the compost facility is overgrown at this point, and Public Works asked that we prepare a contract to provide a contractor to clear the 2 areas that are required for the compost facility. The one area is about 150 by 100 feet, and that will be where the compost piles will be, the lines of compost, and then the adjacent site across the paved area that's already there is a site of approximately 60 by 40 feet, and that will be the location of a new storage shed for the equipment associated with the compost site. We did bid this work. We opened bids on October 4th, and we did receive 2 bids. We wished we would have received more bids because 9 contractors actually came to the pre-bid site visit. but only 2 submitted bids. The low bid was submitted by Dutchman Contracting of Reinholds, Pennsylvania, in the amount of $28,763. For informational purposes, the second bid and the only other bid was for $53,800. So there was a big difference in the bids. We did contact the contractor to ask if he was aware that prevailing wage rates apply for this contract, and he said they were aware of it, and we asked him if he was comfortable with his bid, and he said yes, his bid number is good. So, and we have dealt with this contractor before in conjunction with construction of pole barn buildings. They do a lot of that work, so we're familiar with the contractor, and he's qualified to do the work. So with that, we are recommending that we award this contract to Dutchman Contracting, Reinholds, PA, in the amount of $28,763. Public Works would like this to be done as soon as possible, since they are initiating the collection of leaves for this year. So they want a place to be able to put some of the compost, or to put it on the compost site. Any questions? I'd be happy to answer them.
So the only question I have is 9 people came and 2 people bid. Was it potentially just not a big enough project for?
I'm guessing that that's what it was, and everybody's busy right now. So I'm happy with the low bid, and I was concerned that it was that low, but they confirmed that they're comfortable with their bid, and they realize it's a prevailing wage contract. So, you know, they have low overhead.
Right.
They're work hard. I guess they give good pricing, so.
Well, you don't typically come before us, Joe, and say that everything came in lower than expected. We usually have been getting them in the other direction over the course of the last year or two.
Well, that's true. And quite frankly, this type of work is very hard to estimate. I mean, the reason the contractors came, because a lot of it is underbrush, but there's trees that need to be removed, and part of it is grubbing the area as well, which is removing of all the roots, and that, and to compact it to make a smooth surface for the placement. So all of that is included in this contract. So they say they can do the work. We know they're a good contractor. I see no reason not to award it to them for their bid price.
Okay. Lou, any questions?
One,
Okay.
the bid award for the Dutchman Contracting, after it's approved, or if it's approved, who does the follow-up to see if all the work was done correctly as per contract? That falls under you? Everything is?
It really, probably in this case, it would be Bob. The township has been doing inspection. They do all the inspection for the road program these days, and they're very capable of this, and they're doing the inspection on the pavilion on East Mount Kirk Avenue, and with our assistance, we'll go out and look at something, and we work together.
Somebody's signing off on it that it's done correctly?
Yes, it will, and Bob may call us and say, come out and just give it a final look, and we'll give you a letter saying the work's done properly.
Right, and that nobody cut a corner in order to save the 10,000 they should have bid, and
All we're doing is clearing land here, so, so it's not, you know,
That's
it's
good.
not like we're building a building or something, so it's pretty basic.
I'm happy with that answer.
Yeah, so, any
Fair enough.
questions? If not?
I'm good.
Okay.
You want to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve a bid award to Dutchman Contracting in an amount of $28,763 for the clearing of Knight Park facility to accommodate the leaf collection program.
And I will second that. It has been moved and seconded. Is there any public comment regarding the motion that's on the floor? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. What I will do is notify the contractor and try to schedule a pre-bid meeting with Public Works and get this project going.
Perfect. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that.
Yep.
Next up, we have other business. Does anybody have any other business they wish to bring before the board?
I do not.
Okay. The only thing that I have is just, it's not really other business, but I want to say that now that Sean is on board and knee-deep and sleeves rolled up and the whole thing, that please prepare yourself for a few tasks that may start coming your way from the board. I know that you've sort of jumped in with the website and some of those items already. I know that we've had some thoughts on sort of what to post and not post in the past and those types of questions. So maybe we can get that together maybe for a work session or something in the months to come, just sort of what we're putting out there and other things we might want to add to that. There's always been, it's always a delicate balance in terms of that, but that's certainly one of our public-facing areas, and it probably could use a little sprucing. I guess would be the best way to describe it. Next up, we have public comment on the back end of our meeting. We do again ask that you limit it to 5 minutes. Kim?
Kim David, 1704 Berks Road. Just wondering if you could comment on what you see that might happen with the property we just purchased on Fisher Road. And, I do want to thank you for doing that. If I haven't, appreciate the open space acquisition. But just wonder, your thoughts on developing it or how the township's going to use it? You have any thoughts on that? Or is that going to go to the planning commission, or is that going to be a
So it's a good question, and the short answer is we don't have any definitive plan for it. It was an opportunity to acquire, and we sort of leaped and then looked in some regards. We thought it was the acquisition made a lot of sense. And really the question will go to the Planning Commission would be my expectation to make some recommendations ultimately in terms of, does it make sense to just leave it sort of in its state? There are some structures that are on there that we've had sort of preliminarily assessed. Some are in better shape than others, so we've got to make some decisions with regard to that, and we'd want their input as to whether it made sense to either try to refurbish what's there, keep it in a state, sort of farm-like, if you will, is one option. We haven't, to be super clear, we've not decided to turn them into baseball fields or soccer fields or anything to that, but that certainly is an option that could be considered. So the short answer is we don't have a specific plan in place, Kim, but I would anticipate we'll, now that sort of we have it and it's on board, we'll get it to the Planning Commission to start giving some ideas and thoughts to what they think might make sense. And certainly that's an opportunity for public input to let us know what people might want. And we might, might be a question or a poll or a survey we put out to the community to say, do you have some thoughts on that? But I would anticipate more than likely the first quarter of 2023. I know that the Planning Commission is working on some things to kind of finish up this year, but we'll get it to their, onto their plate to start giving us some ideas and then sort of make a plan from there.
Thank you.
Question, Rick, does that have to be an agenda item for the planning to put this on, other people have proposed?
No pen? We know who you are.
Just put an X.
So the short answer is they can add it to their agenda as we, as they can fit it into their schedule. In terms of that, we don't need to specifically,
Nothing formal.
nothing formal needs to happen in terms of that, but just sort of add it to their list and sort of factored in with other things that they do.
Very good.
Is there any additional public comment for the board tonight? Okay, seeing none, motion to adjourn.